Well, this is the really interesting bit. You see, the program developed when we saw people from all over the world with different kinds of problems, whether it be depression, eating disorders, weight issues, issues with lack of meaning, chronic anxiety for the last 20 years, whatever it was, we found that they had the ability to heal themselves. All they needed to know was in which direction to go. And we developed 10 steps to get them there. You see, the paradigm process is actually an interesting model. What it does is allow the person to heal themselves. It gives the steps, the pointers, and where to focus. So it's really like a compass. But what we did was, instead of trying to get a psychologist trained up who would teach them how to heal anxiety and depression, whatever else it's going to be, why not give the customer, the client, the person in need of the help, the same tools that we were giving the psychologists? And we've got the DSM-5 psychiatric manual. We've got everything from the Bhagavad Gita to the Old and New Testament. We've got CBT, DBT, REBT, and I could carry on all day long. But person-centered therapy is the best. The one where the person takes the lead has made all the difference to people's lives when they heal and transform. It comes from them. So although we need a mirror, we need a process or a program, sure, we need to do the changes for ourselves. And we hear this time and time again everywhere. When we give people the power to make those changes for themselves, we give them the first pathway, letting go of the need to control. Go and type that into AI or look at the psychiatric manual. Go through psychology or go through the religious philosophies of the East. It's all about letting go, not clinging. It's all about taking your power back. So the first pathway is about letting go of our need to control, which really dominates almost all our other personality masks that we wear. So we give everybody these top 10 personality masks that generally block us all up. So people are shown where to point and where to go. And this is the journey back to what we call sacred self. It is the science of finding your sacred self. So people look at letting go of the need to control. And if they discover that is one of their most significant ego defense insurgents, we give them the antidote. And the antidote to that is known as self-love. You cannot give away what you don't have. And if we've succumbed, like most people, to the hard knocks of life, to trauma, to anxiety, to loss, we end up putting on these masks to defend ourselves when consciously we feel we really can't do it ourselves. So at some point, those masks worked, and then at some point you need to take them off in the future. If we're controlling, if we're perfectionistic, if we're anxious, sooner or later, those things that saved us are going to impede our way forward. So we teach people how to do that. We're taught in psychiatry and psychology that everybody has 3 major clusters that defend the persona, and these of course become subconscious. So people get stuck, and that's why they normally need help from someone on the outside to show them what they cannot see. But these clusters we call your master insurgents, and they are always based in 3 major attributes: fear, drama, or distrust. And all 3 of these carry sub-ego defenses, which you can find out what they are. And when you know the enemy, you become self-aware. And when you become self-aware, you can find radical acceptance. And from that radical acceptance, we can take new action. So people find it very difficult to change. And there is a mental health crisis at the moment, sure. And anxieties through the roof, and depression as well. Basically, all kinds of disorders and stuckness are really going through the roof, and people are becoming lost and afraid. And that trauma is coming out in their bodies. It's coming out in pain, in obsessions and compulsions, and all sorts of things. But it's false evidence appearing real at the end of the day. As Tara Brach would say, it's real, but not true. So all we have to realize is that the truth of who we really are will set us free. So it's in finding our authenticity and going beyond the masks that the personality has created, that we find freedom, we find healing and peace. We use the Big Five personality test a lot as a pointer, and it's one way to know if you're open, if you're agreeable, if you're conscientious, etc. But the point is, everybody needs a system of recovery to get back to authentic self. Having a subconscious and a conscious mind means that our personality becomes, over time, our personal reality. And when that happens and it's not authentically who we are, we suffer. So much of the anxiety that we heal and the depression and the burnout that we heal is done by lifting away these masks and allowing energy to flow up. Everything they said about that chakra system is really, really true. If we're stuck at the root, we're in survival mind. We're not going to be able to create unless we're in our prefrontal cortex, which is, about 40% of our brain. And that's what medication's trying to do. That's what hypnosis tries to do. That's what therapy tries to do of all sorts, is try to get people out of survival mind, fight, flight, and freeze, back into thrive mind. So when you take the reins and let go of the control, you actually gain control back. And we move from feelings, which are so difficult, like powerlessness, not being able to action what I want, back to authentic power. And it's the power of love that gets us there. The false assumptions, the masks, the ego defenses, the subconscious mind, all at some point needs to be pushed to the side. It needs to be integrated and dissolved into who we really want to be. And so this is the journey we're actually all on. How we get there has been the hard part. We know that we have to get there. We know the why. We just don't know how. And the paradigm process that we teach is the how that gives you these 10 pathways back to who you really are. Carl Jung put it as there were two halves of life, the first half and the second half. And I really have come to believe that that's true. The first half of life is really about building up a container, building up these masks so that you can go out into the world and explore and adventure and see enough to realize one day that there's a second half of life. Some people call this a spiritual awakening, a life transformation, being born again. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's something that we all need to do. And generally, to get there, we need to traverse a dark night of the soul. It is great love or great suffering that gets us to shift from the first to the second half of life. And the first half of life, where that order once reigned supreme, dissolves and we find disorder. And this is what the world's suffering today. That's the essence of the mental health crisis. But what we forget is that there's reorder, recovery, resurgence, resurrection from these things. And if only we could really all get well and share that with people who are suffering suicidal ideation, for example, people who have given up, who are being crushed by feelings of hopelessness. We just really want them to remember that it may feel real, but it's not true. There really is a corner to turn, and a paradigm shift from the first half to the second half of life is available to absolutely all of us. All you need to do is leave the comfort and certainty of your home, the people, places, things, conversations, and situations that you've been used to, which have formulated your personality, your traits, your mechanisms of personality, and move into something new. So what has to change, of course, is absolutely everything. And that's the journey of life. And it's a great journey. I mean, the research is clear from north to west, east to south, that it only takes between 6 to 8 weeks to completely transform your life. And then you practice that for at least 12 months, probably for the rest of your life. I mean, we don't really arrive. It's all about the journey. Unfortunately, people are taught that only medication is the way, that they need to learn to cope with anxiety. And almost everyone we meet today has been to 5, 6 doctors and tried 10 or 12 different things. But that's a good thing. It's a good exploration into finding yourself again, the healed self and the transformed self. But what we really need to be told is that the transformation is within. This is the spiritual solution that lies within each and every one of us. And we're capable, far more capable than anyone else, of creating the future that we want, of discovering our authenticity, and living the life that we feel the most significant, the most purposeful, and the one full of the most meaning. It's almost safe to say that we've never met anybody who really wanted to change that didn't. And that's incredible. And we found that those people who really had enough of being sick and tired of being sick and tired all started by stopping and following something else. When we stop the program, the habitual program that has kept us going defensively until the present moment where we're depressed or anxious or can't live a high quality life in the present moment. When we get to that place and we realize that the changes are already within us, there's no journey, there's no place to go except within. And once we then find that, it filters out into the rest of our life. So everybody is absolutely capable of change. They just need the tools to know that it's there. As I said, we know why we have to get well. We just don't know how. And as Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So we teach that how. And we find that common people are doing uncommon things with their lives. No one really can heal your addictions, your defenses, everything that's based in fear and suffering better than you can. And you start by stopping, and you let go of control, and you start regenerating a sense of deep self-love. And we then give away what we have, which is that love, into our work, into our relationships, and we really watch them thrive. Then there's 9 other steps after that to really get us out of who we thought we really were, that get us out of our heads and into our best lives. You really, really can heal your life.